Hi and welcome to today's presentation, which is about Revolving Energy Funds. I'm Barbara, the co-CEO of 100% Renewables. We specialise in the development of climate action strategies. In today's video, I'll be talking about Revolving Energy Funds, what they are and what the benefits are, and I'll be talking about how to operate them. And most importantly, I will demonstrate the usage of a tool that we've developed for the New South Wales government. So, what is a revolving energy fund? A revolving energy fund is a self-sustaining funding mechanism. You take seed capital and pour that into the revolving energy fund to then invest in your sustainability projects, say energy efficiency or solar PV projects. These projects come with savings, but the unique feature of the Revolving Energy Fund is that you put the savings back into the Revolving Energy Fund so that the next round of investments can happen. And it's a fantastic way to finance your climate action plan. So what are the benefits of a Revolving Energy Fund? Well, it definitely addresses a strategic priority for organizations. More and more organizations are committing to ambitious targets such as net zero emissions, and the Revolving Energy Fund can really help with implementing those projects because it makes it easier and also faster to get the projects off the ground. There's going to be less competition with other projects in the budget. If you have a dedicated fund, it just makes it so much easier. So how do you operate a fund? So the way this works is that you start the fund off with seed capital, which goes in to get it all started. Then you fund your sustainability projects, and then you return. The more savings you can return to the Revolving Energy Fund, the better. But if you can't, it depends on how you set it up. Part of the savings might go back into the budget. Or you could set it up such that initially for the first 6 years, the savings go back into the Revolving Energy Fund, and after 6 years, the savings are going back into budget. So it really depends how you're setting it up. There'll also be additional funding from budget, and of course, if you get access to grant funding, that's always the best because it's practically free money, and that will definitely help with financing all your sustainability projects. Now I'd like to switch over to the Excel sheet that we've developed. It's a fantastic tool for engagement for the execs or for senior management to show how a portfolio of projects that would come out of your climate action plan develop over time. You can input a list of projects with the year of implementation, the associated costs and the savings, and it will estimate the total funding that's needed to finance projects based on the year of implementation. So let's have a look at the tool. Now this here is the Excel sheet I was talking about earlier. The navigation bar is up at the top. So that's the introduction sheet, the benefits of the Revolving Energy Fund, the user guide, the settings tab, then the project database and the ref analysis. So in the settings tab, this is where we set up the start of the Revolving Energy Fund, and this is where we put the seed funding and the top-up funding. This is crucial to having a good setup of a Revolving Energy Fund. So let's say we put $75,000 into our fund. If we click on the ref analysis tab, you can see that reflected here. But then we also are going to supply another $60,000 in here the next financial year, and another $55,000. So if you click on the ref analysis tab, you can see inflows, seed, top up, and the ending balance of our Revolving Energy Fund is looking very healthy. We are now ready to finance our first project. So our first project is going to be a 50 kilowatt solar system, and the project type is a solar PV project, and we are going to put solar on the north and east roofs of the building. The cost will be $50,000 to implement the system. It's going to return $10,000 annually. but because I'm not implementing it right away at the start of the financial year, there's less savings in the first year. That project will go ahead in 2022, and with stakeholder engagement, I've determined that 75% of my savings can go back into the fund, and I've managed to negotiate that will happen for 6 years. Now the 50,000, how will I fund the 50,000? So I'm going to take 20,000 from the REF. I've received a grant of 20,000, and the rest will have to come from the budget. Now what's that looking like in our REF analysis tab? So now you can see the blues are the inflows. We've got the grant funding here as well, but everything below the zero line is are the projects that we are funding. So in this particular case here we have our 50 kilowatt solar system, and the green bits you can see here are the savings that are returned into the fund from the 50 kilowatt system. So that means that our ending balance of the REF, or our cumulative cash flow down here, is growing. So the financial balance is looking very healthy for our Revolving Energy Fund. But I also know that I have just developed a climate action plan which identified a large number of projects that can save your organization money. The investment required is roughly $2 million. So if I entered all my projects here, so now I've got all my actions in here, I can see what the ending balance of the REF looks like now. So I can clearly see it's all looking good, but here it dips below the zero line, meaning I don't have enough funds in my REF to fund projects, so that's not going to work. So I could go back to the project database and change the year of implementation, so potentially wait another year before I can fund my next project. Or what I can also do is go to the settings tab and look where I have my funding deficit. So in this particular case, I'm going to run into a funding deficit in 2024. So if I could put another 50,625 into my Revolving Energy Fund in 2024, the funding deficit goes away, and I can clearly see that I can execute all my sustainability projects that I've developed in the climate action strategy without going into deficit. And I've plotted it out to 2030. You can change the years by clicking here, and it will just continue to display the timeline. So that in a nutshell is the Excel tool that we've developed. Really proud of it. It's a great engagement tool for the execs and senior because you can show how the portfolio of projects that you've identified in your climate action plan behave over time. And it clearly shows that these sustainability projects return savings, so it shows the business case. So in summary, I'd like to say that this tool is fairly simple to use. You just need to change the settings here and enter your projects. And I'd also like to stress the importance of the seed funding and the top-up funding, because if I didn't have the seed funding or the top-up funding here, I would certainly go into deficit. So it just shows that when you set up, if you're thinking of setting up a revolving energy fund, the seed funding and the top-up funding is critical. And also, the last bit I'd like to stress is your stakeholder engagement. So the way you set everything up, exactly how many, the percent of savings that are returned back into the fund and for how many years, that's all part of negotiation and setting up the Revolving Energy Fund. So it's important that from the start you bring all the critical key stakeholders on board so that everyone agrees on the settings of the Revolving Energy Fund. So now that you've seen how this all works, if you're thinking of potentially implementing your Revolving Energy Fund at your organization to fund your climate action strategy, please consider getting in contact with us as we can talk you through the steps that are involved in setting it up. That concludes my demonstration of the Revolving Energy Fund today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in my next video. Thank you.